Ladies and gentlemen, here we are live in the studio with our first ever in-studio guest, the Honorable Kelly Loeffler, who's here from the Small Business Administration. She's the administrator, a Trump appointee, a absolute bombshell of an administrator who's crisscrossing the country right now, just rolled a cigar, in fact, here in Tampa, to talk about President Trump's big, beautiful bill and how it will help small businesses. And it's our honor to have her in the studio today. And I have the official photos of Kelly Loeffler rolling a cigar, fresh off of rolling a cigar. Do you have it with you? Do you have the cigar with you?
Well, I do have it in the car.
Okay.
Maybe I'll gift it to you after. It was such a great honor to be with you in studio here in Tampa. This is really incredible.
All right. Well, as we adjust our shot there we go. Okay. So there's the photo. We have it proven. Anyway, how's the big beautiful bill coming?
Well, the one big beautiful bill is going to pass, but we've got to get it over the finish line sooner than later for small businesses. That's why I'm out getting across the country, talking to small businesses, understanding how important it is. Look, it's the pass-through deduction made permanent. Corporations have certainty on their tax rate. Small businesses absolutely deserve that certainty. It's no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. This is about small businesses and hardworking Americans that deserve to keep more of their tax dollars and not send it to the federal government.
I've never had, so this is, again, I'm just still like absorbing how exciting this is to have in-studio guests, and also to have our first in-studio guest be a successful Trump appointee working in the cabinet and also rolling cigars at the same time. It's just great. It's just all of it's great. It's all aligning, and it's a wonderful thing.
Well, it's a tremendous honor to serve in the Trump administration for so many reasons, but largely because President Trump is creating this economy that lifts all Americans up. He's making us great again as a nation. He's fighting for fair trade, for making our taxes lower, for less regulation. And that's what this is about, is getting the message out across this country, and he's keeping us safe too. So God bless President Trump.
So big, beautiful bill going to pass. Yes?
I believe it's going to pass. I think my question is when, and hopefully before the July 4th holiday. I would love that for small businesses so that they have the certainty of tax cuts, but not just for small businesses, for hardworking Americans that will face a $4 trillion tax increase if this bill expires, if the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires at the end of this year. That means every family's tax rates will go up 22%. Small businesses' taxes will double. We'll lose the pass-through deduction. The child tax credit will be cut in half. The list goes on. And the one big beautiful bill does so much for this country besides cutting taxes. It secures our border. It provides for our energy dominance and so many other things. So it's vital that we get this done. And I know I was in the Senate last week speaking to Senate Republicans at their lunch, and they know how important small businesses are. But you know who really knows? President Trump. He says to me every time, Kelly, small business is big business. And it absolutely is.
We're a small business here. Donald Trump is technically like a small business owner, right? Like he's up against these other big hotel chains and other big buildings and all these massive multinational conglomerates. It's like he totally gets that. And that's got to be a little stressful. What's it like having Trump as a boss, especially knowing that like he's a small business guy at heart?
Well, it's incredible because he sets the pace for all of us in the cabinet. Look, he runs in a gear that this country deserves to have, and we're running at the speed of small business. Small businesses do more with less. We know how important everything is from the DOGE cuts. We've got to make sure that we're cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. We've found massive amounts of it at the SBA alone. But President Trump is an incredible leader, and to serve under his administration is very humbling, and it keeps us going every day. That's why I'm in a different state every day working with small businesses to make sure that their voice is heard and that they know that President Trump is fighting for them.
You're going to go to California, check in on our favorite Batman villain governor?
Well, actually, we actually went out there. You know, President Trump went there right after he got inaugurated to support the wildfires. And we've called on Gavin Newsom recently to declare an emergency, a disaster in downtown LA where the riots have really destroyed small businesses. And he has declined to rush that aid to small businesses that we could provide at the SBA in the form of economic injury disaster loans. And he's turning a blind eye to the fate of these small businesses where we estimate estimate $1 billion in damage has happened to small businesses down there, and Newsom won't do it. That's why we announced we're moving out of sanctuary cities. The Small Business Administration is leading in that regard. Congress liked that so much that they actually passed a bill last week to codify the SBA moving out of sanctuary cities. If these mayors and governors won't keep their people safe, we will.
So wait, I just want to get this straight. So we saw all the buildings and businesses getting looted and burned. We saw that famous donut shop, right?
Yeah.
With the Mexican flags and the criminal aliens like burning cars and like torching these businesses. Some of them are small, humble businesses. Some of them are Apple stores, right? That are getting totally looted and destroyed. I think the Apple store shut down indefinitely in downtown LA. So small or big businesses, either way, they're all shut down. And Gavin Newsom's saying no. He doesn't want help. He doesn't want like special disaster loans.
Well,
That's insane.
He doesn't want to admit they've created another man-made disaster by resisting ICE, and so we're going to keep our people safe. We're going to continue to call on him to support small businesses, and beyond that, we have to relocate to areas that are safe for small businesses. It turns out our office, we were prescient in deciding to move out of sanctuary cities before all of this because our SBA offices, both in New York and in Los Angeles, are just steps from where the riots are happening.
So can you explain that? What does it mean to move out of a sanctuary city? Does that mean that they're not going to get aid or assistance or help, and they're not going to be able, maybe you could take a step back and explain what assistance is provided to someone if you're not a sanctuary city by the SBA?
Well, absolutely. So it's vitally important that we are everywhere across this country serving our small businesses. They make so many sacrifices to build. They create 2 out of every 3 new jobs. They make our communities what they are. We want to locate in adjacent areas that support federal law, that uphold the rule of law, and that we don't have taxpayer funding for sanctuary cities that defy ICE and the good work that Secretary Noem and Tom Homan are doing. Yes. So we're going to relocate, sometimes 6 miles away just to make sure people are safe and that they will uphold the law and keep our people that want to come in to visit the SBA safe.
Yes. So, okay, small businesses. This was a little bit of a brouhaha. There's been some interesting news cycles. Here's one. President Trump said, we're going to take it easy on mass deportations for hotel workers, for ag workers. And that didn't go great with the base. And now, as of this morning, it seems like he's totally reversed that. You must have been part of that decision, right? And these would be people that kind of fall into your wheelhouse, right? Hotels and agriculture. Can you explain what's going on there? Can you verify that that's true? And what was the process in that decision making?
Well, I can tell you what I know, which is that we have millions of potential workers, American workers, that want good paying jobs. They want access to benefits. They want to live the American dream. We need to find ways to lift them up, whether it's through retraining, skills training, the trades. There's so many opportunities in this country, and we saw that in a recent example where after a raid, they had a line out the door of American citizens that wanted those jobs.
In Nebraska. I read that. That was amazing.
They want good
inspirational.
Yes.
I got chills reading it. I was like, wow.
And we want that for everyone. And President Trump is creating an economy that is going to bring more people in. He did that in the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It created over 4 million jobs. It brought more people into the workforce, record low poverty, record high employment rates for the Black and Hispanic community, 40-year high for women. If you create an opportunity that drives opportunity for everyone at every level, it will raise the lowest incomes faster than the top. That's what we need. We need to narrow that gap, and we do that by getting people into the economy, off the government benefits that the Biden administration tried to create handouts to buy voters. Yes. And what we want to make sure is that everyone has the chance to live the American dream. That's what small business is about.
Yes. So that decision, that rule has been overturned, and there's not going to be any protected classes for ICE enforcement.
Well, that's my understanding, okay. And really, I think that's President Trump's, commitment to America is to have the law and order brought back, the rule of law. That's what the One Big Beautiful Bill does. It provides funding for the border. We have to have a secure border. We have to have a sane immigration law. We know that there are a place for H-2A workers. We know there's a place for a proper immigration program, but cutting the line in front of law-abiding people is not the way to do it.
Yes. I mean, I'm from Iowa. I know that you're from the Midwest as well. And we both grew up in farm and agriculture communities. And those are the communities that are getting ravaged by fentanyl, where like Americans are like they're in depression spirals. That's the way to break a young man out of a depression spiral is give him a job, like have him like go out in the sun and work, actually. And that's something we should incentivize.
Absolutely, and that's President Trump returning us to Made in America. I've been on a manufacturing tour. Communities like ours that were hollowed out by the exit of manufacturing and the shift over to China, all those jobs, 5 million jobs taken from our workers, that hollowed out communities, that created the chance for this drug crisis to take hold. President Trump's bringing back Made in America and that opportunity economy.
So awesome to hear. I was like, when you're from the Midwest, like never leaves you, right?
No,
like I live in Florida now, but like it never leaves you, and you always have a heart for that because it is the beating heart of the country. So the beating heart of the show today is the breaking news. Speaking of criminal aliens and criminality, the breaking news of criminal aliens voting in our election. And we covered that Kash Patel has given demonstrable amounts of information that was hidden at the FBI about Chinese nationals voting in our election using fake IDs. Thousands and thousands, maybe millions of fake IDs. And then rigging the election effectively. We've shown tons of charts. We've shown all of the data. It makes absolutely no sense where the hell the votes came from or where they went in the year 2020. We want a full-scale investigation into this. You obviously, when you were running as a senator in Georgia, man, Georgia was a nightmare. You don't have to remind everyone, but like it gives me the vapors, like thinking about Georgia and what was happening in 2020 and what a mess it was. And I guess I want to start the question off by saying this, like, the thing they fought the hardest against was ID checks in Georgia after that, right? They were losing their minds that we would check IDs. And it seems like that really does lend itself to this story, that there was probably a fraudulent ID mass voter fraud system that helped Joe Biden rig the election.
Well, absolutely. And we'll never know the extent of it unless we can go back and look at that. And I'm so grateful to Kash Patel. I mean, he's doing incredible work. This is vitally important for so many reasons, voting chief among them. How do any of these policies matter if our elections are rigged? So we have to make sure we get back to the facts on this. And thanks to President Trump's leadership, we will do that. We will hold people accountable. And what's great about this administration is we're all working together to solve these challenges. Like, I'll give you an example that relates to voting. At the SBA, we found hundreds of people had gotten loans, thousands actually, $630 million of loans went out to people over the age of 115 or under the age of 9. Well, why is that important? Because we use Social Security data to track that. Well, that's obviously people who also were voting. We have to figure out who voted in that election, what's happening, connect the Social Security numbers to the voter registration. And in past governments, they wouldn't let agencies cross over. Well, President Trump, under his leadership, we're all working together to ensure we're solving these problems in real time because we have another election coming up.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly right. Okay, so you're actually able, so the SBA, you're able to like see fraudulence inside of your system. Is this in part with your partnership with DOGE?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you've had like a very successful partnership with DOGE. Can you unpack that?
Yeah, look, the DOGE relationship has been invaluable, and I think as a country to have an initiative like cost cutting, getting to the bottom of waste and fraud, which is massive in this country, and the DOGE effort really supercharges it by providing the data analytics that we need as the leaders of these agencies to make these decisions and ask the questions, and then they get to the bottom of it. It's happening at warp speed, and that's what's so fantastic about this. We're able to get to the bottom of it, reshape the policies around that. So now we have put prohibitions on age limits around the SBA loan to prevent fraudulent actors from accessing loans. We've prevented non-citizens from getting loans by DOGE finding SBA loans made to non-citizens, which are ineligible. So DOGE is supercharging the efforts to get rid of all the stuff that everyone knew was out there, but now we're seeing it with our own eyes. Wow.
So it's worked out great for you.
It's worked out great. There is so much more to do, and I'm so grateful for President Trump's vision in implementing this. And I think, now we see governors across the country having their own DOGE efforts, state legislatures. We need a lot more of this in government, and it's literally going to take a long time to get to the bottom of it, but we have a good start.
We're personally major fans that Donald Trump and Elon are besties again.
Yeah, okay. Me too.
Okay, good. So it's good to see. You don't have to be best friends. You don't have to be enemies, right? You need to be allies in order to defeat defeat this monster that we're up against.
That's right. And Elon did tremendous work. He's done tremendous work as an innovator. And so I said that one of his greatest innovations would be getting to the bottom of the corruption and abuse in government. And I think it is.
So, okay, he's technically a small business owner, right? Like, depending on the business that you're looking at, right? Like, it's like, so you would speak the same language, right, as Elon?
Elon's wonderful. He's so committed. He believes in this country, and he really believes in President Trump's leadership. And so I'm glad they're friends again. And I think I hope that the DOGE effort is here to stay. I believe it is.
Yes. What about codifying DOGE in the Senate, right? So you got that, you got that going up. Passed the House.
Yeah.
Shockingly, some Republicans voted against it, which is insane. Okay, but it goes to the Senate now. What's up?
Yeah. So look, first of all, we've got to get the one big beautiful bill passed. I think that's absolutely critical in terms of timing to get the economy rocking and rolling. Look, President Trump's off to a tremendous start. Fair trade, all these things. Rescission bills now. There's going to be hopefully dozens of rescission bills to get this wasteful spending that we've identified through DOGE out. But it is pretty shocking that a $9 billion rescission bill barely passed. Because we've got hundreds of billions of dollars to come.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so on the topic of fixing these fraudulent systems inside of the SBA and inside of voting, and since you yourself, and you don't have to say it, I'll say it, since you were a victim of what I believe to be an absolute criminal voting system in Georgia, because we all watched what happened in Georgia in 2020. How do we restore the trust of the American people in our elections? This is like the biggest possible question. And it's a big one across the entire administration, which is call me what you want, but I want to trust the FBI. Like when the FBI puts a bad guy in prison, I want to trust that they're doing that I've seen everything, that they're being transparent, the bad guy is bad, the FBI agents did the right thing. And that's been so destroyed over the last couple of years, what they did to President Trump, what they did on January 6th. It's been so atomized, that trust. And it's happened in our election too. And since you were a victim, right, of that system, how do you restore that, right? How do you fix that?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked, because it wasn't just in 2020, it was in 2021 in our Senate runoffs.
Yes.
And what I did was not accept the victimization. I said, we're going to get to work. Yes. And so I set up an election integrity effort, voter mobilization, diverse community outreach effort in Georgia to get out and do that work. And my biggest takeaway was getting involved in elections, understanding election laws. Where are they being exploited? Why don't we have voter ID? What's happening with state and local officials, to really look closely, because elections are run locally. And so we have to take care of a lot of these problems locally. Of course, we have to get to the FBI investigations of all the voter fraud committed that continues to go on. But we also have to make sure people are involved locally, because that's where elections happen. Yeah. And so that's what I did in Georgia. That's what a lot of people did after 2020. And it did make a difference to have people in Georgia. I know we passed a 100-page election bill right away in 2021, and then several other bills subsequently after. And it takes constant work. It's not one and done. It's over and over, because they're constantly looking at ways to change our elections.
Yes, that's right. Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, man, they're not sending their best, as President Trump would say. Okay, let's zoom out. Small business owner. We're a small business owner, That's right. This is media is a tough business these days, right? We're making it work. We're very proud of our humble little team here. What's your advice as we move forward to young Americans wishing to start small businesses, wanting to capture their American dream and wanting to go out and let it rip?
Well, you're crushing it as a small business. You're a great inspiration, I know, to so many people. And look, small business is so accessible right now to people that want to get involved, whether it's starting your own business or buying a business. There's a silver tsunami taking place. And what does that mean? It means, people in our greatest generation, baby boomers, may be selling their mom and pop business, their Main Street business. And what's exciting about that is a lot of people use SBA loans to buy those businesses. It may be a Main Street business that they take to the next level. So President Trump also is creating this opportunity economy that's going to let so many people live out their dreams. And so I think now there's never been a better time to be a risk taker, a job creator, an innovator. and a small business person. And it just takes that first step, because that's how you learn, right? That small business is about learning and growing in terms of that path. You never kind of fully get there, but you're on that path. So, you know.
So apply for a small business loan if you got a good idea.
Yeah.
And get a hold of your office.
Yeah.
What's the can you walk someone through the process?
Yeah. So the SBA is across the country. We have 68 regional and district offices, and then we have 1,000 small business development centers that you can go to and talk through your business plan. Maybe you have a great small business, you want to make it bigger, you want to get a loan. They can talk to you about going to your local lender, how to apply for a small business loan, and that's a great start just to get those dialogues going about what might you need, what tax returns do you need to provide. They'll walk you through the process. It's pretty accessible. SBA.gov has a lot of information on it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been our absolute honor to have you here in the studio.
You've been
our first in studio guest. We're making it work. Can we get a photo for the selfie wall here? All right.
All right.
Live on the stream. All right. Hey, thank you, everybody. Can we get a big round of applause for Kelly? Yes, absolutely. Amazing. We got the sound effects for everybody loves you. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Madam Administrator. Okay. I know I'm not very fancy, so I hope that's
Kelly.
Okay. All right. Kelly, Godspeed.
This was fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Great work.
Shout out to the chat. All right.